The Economic Times, 29th of September 2023, Pakistan requests $11 billion in assistance from Saudi Arabia and China to maintain the IMF bailout program. Low on funds. According to a media report on Friday, Pakistan is looking to China and Saudi Arabia for about $11 billion as part of its efforts to bridge the gap in its domestic and external resource supply so that the IMF bailout program can continue to guarantee economic stability until the country elects a new government. It coincides with the caretaker government's efforts to effectively broaden the tax net to include the retail, agricultural, and real estate sectors while keeping up its campaign against the flow of illicit currency. According to the Dawn newspaper, this information was included in a comprehensive policy presentation that Interim Finance Minister Shamshad Akhtar made in front of the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Revenue on Thursday in Islamabad. Senator Saleem Mandviwalla chaired the committee. According to her, the administration was working on an economic recovery plan that will be shared with the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and given to Anwar al-Haq Kakar, the acting Prime Minister, shortly. She stated that the caretaker administration could not implement deep-rooted structural changes but would carry out the reforms required by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, to guarantee the payment of an installment loan of $700 million. By the end of October, negotiations with the IMF would start. In June, the IMF and Pakistan signed a staff-level agreement on a 9-month standby arrangement, SPA, worth roughly $3 billion. The finance minister stated that executing the IMF program was the government's top priority to maintain economic stability and continuity. Regarding the shortfall in external finance, Akhtar stated that while the nation's financial needs remained significant, the government could secure project pipeline disbursements and resurrect some policy-based financing from multilateral with the cooperation of all stakeholders. With the $700 million from the IMF, external flows would improve. She claimed that in addition to a request for a Saudi oil facility, China and Saudi Arabia had been asked for net bilateral funding totaling $11 billion. In her written statement, she stated that the IMF had already approved $3 billion and that $10 billion in bilateral assistance was anticipated. We are working to secure concessional funding from multilateral, the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and Islamic Development Bank, of $6.3 billion to meet the external financing requirements, she said. As Brent crude oil prices surged to $95 per barrel in September, up 27% from $74 per barrel in June, Akhtar issued a warning simultaneously, stating that a key risk to external stability comes from the rise in international commodity prices. The last 2 years have seen a significant increase in the public debt, mainly due to interest rate increases and devaluations. According to the article, she regretted that even the G20's debt relief for developing countries had been spent without guaranteeing high-return investments. She argued that for any government ever to be able to handle twin deficits, legislation bringing retail, agricultural, and real estate into the effective tax net would need to be amended. According to Akhtar, the interim administration requests assistance from the legal system to settle outstanding cases and earn an extra 3 trillion rupees. Following the finalization of the electoral district configuration in light of the data from earlier this year, the Election Commission of Pakistan, ECP, recently said that the election would take place in the final week of January.